wearing? Is that a Beda?
This is Cartier.
Sorry, I was like, it's a platinum tank American.
Yeah, it's white gold.
Okay.
Yeah, from 1999.
It's the bracelet which caught me because that's not original Cartier. No.
That's a $10 steel bracelet that's probably destroying the lugs of that. It's gold.
Yeah, that's why, because when Christian Bédard launched his brand, he created watches which were very similar to Cartier with the Roman numerals, and he put these bracelets on them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At the beginning, that's like 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
His work.
So the brand doesn't exist anymore. Oh, it does, but I mean, it was bought by a Malaysian consortium. It was like Christian Bédard is the son of Simone Bédard, who basically created Raymond Weil with Raymond Weil 50 years ago. So these are this is when you speak to an old fogey like me who's been 32 years in the industry, that all these stories come back. So it's interesting to see how we've arrived where we've arrived, the whole industry.
Do you think that kind of acquisition can happen with MB&F?
That somebody buys MB&F? It's not anything in my mind. I'm working much more on how do I make MB&F survive me. That's what's been keeping me alive, awake over the last good 3 years. How can I make sure? Now, when you create the brand at I was 38, 18 years ago. When I created the brand, clearly that was not the point of thinking of legacy. And then you're barely surviving for 10 years. So you're not thinking of legacy either. And then things start getting better and you're enjoying it. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hits, this could all stop from 1 minute to the other. And you start thinking, well, again, I'm 56 now. I don't feel it. I don't think I look it. But anything can happen. I've lost my parents. I've started losing friends. Anything can happen. And then you realize, if I pass away, that's it, I'm done. I'm not there. But I have a moral responsibility for the whole team, for everybody who works with us, and for the more than 1,000 clients around there, that this brand thrives and is there for them. So that's what's been on my thought. It's not at all about selling the brand. It's how to make sure this brand survives me.
And how does it?
So, first of all, we've got an incredible directors team. So between Harris, who you've met, communications, Serge, who's been my partner in the company for 15 years and who's the genius doing the technical side, and Thibaut, who's on the sales, we just get along super well. We're a great team. My job now is only creative director and having crazy ideas which could bankrupt the company, because nobody who's an employee can have that sort of idea. So that's my responsibility. But for the rest, it's all the creative. Now, what's happened? We've come up with a body of work in 18 years, which is 20 calibers. We have 8 or 9 in the pipeline, which means we come out with 1 caliber every year, but it takes 3 to 5 years to make one. So basically, my life is a layer cake. And every layer is a project, which some HM11 is going to come out in a few months, and other projects which will come out in 2030 and 31. So everything, you're constantly pushing all these different projects. If something happens to me, we've already got 8-9 years in front of us. And then I'll need to find another creative director. Now, I don't want to I don't want to say that we are like Coco Chanel and Karl Lagerfeld, but you see what I mean. It's like Karl Lagerfeld took over after Coco Chanel. Karl Lagerfeld is not there anymore, and his assistant is now taken over. So creative directors can then reinterpret the body of work and continue. We have a super healthy company which has no debt, and it's virtually made no profit for 15 years, but it's never lost any money. And now, if something happens, I think if we appoint we're working with a young who could be a creative director, then something could happen. So there you go. I mean, that's part of the things which is in the process. I hope to be around for some time still, but you never know.
So you started this kind of mentorship program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually I used to take on a young design student from the ECAL, the Lausanne School of Design, which is a great school, by the way. I took like 5 years in a row, a student as an intern. And all the clocks you see that we've actually designed with L'Épée, or the music boxes we designed with Rouge, were actually done with these young interns. So I work all the watches with Eric Giroux, who's a hyper talented designer, and I basically have designed all the watches with him, but the clocks has always been with interns. And the last one was also, incredibly talented. We decided to start working together and on a mentorship program, and and he's done some incredible work. So you will see already in 2025 the first project based on one of my ideas, but he's totally designed from scratch. So there you go. So things are happening now, and then I'll let him have his ideas. And that, honestly, you come to an age. At the beginning, you need to create for yourself. It's 100% selfish. And then, as I said, you have a survival mode where you create for yourself and you try to survive. And then at a moment, it's going to be 20th anniversary in 2 years. You start thinking, actually what makes me proud, what makes me happy is the journey and is bringing people up to that next level and seeing how people grow. It's like being a parent. I became a parent pretty late in life, and I'm realizing I've only been a dad for 10 years, and realizing what it means to foster, to mentor, and to see someone grow. That makes me incredibly proud.
Is this collaboration in 2025, is that part of the 20th anniversary, or that's just a coincidence?
No, it's an idea I had for the 20th anniversary, which this young designer has designed with us. And it's really, he's done like 80% or 90% of it. So it's an example, but there are many other things happening. There's so many things going on in this company. We've got MB&F, M.A.D editions, all the co-creations where are the ideas we suggest to other manufacturers, like for the moment only clocks and music boxes and pens, but there are others. We've designed loudspeakers, we've designed an espresso machine, which is incredible. I just cannot find an espresso maker who accepts to make it. It's a mechanical sculpture, which is so cool, and I want to have that piece in my kitchen, but we need to find people who resonate on the same wavelength as us. Because, and I've noticed, I had no idea about espresso machines, that most espresso machine makers are actually B2B companies. They make beautiful big machines for cafes and restaurants. That's their business. There are very few actually make an espresso machine for your home. Those who do it for your home are big volume brands. And so there you go. So we're talking with a few, but again, you meet incredible people, and sometimes you're disappointed, but that's life. When you take risks, that's life.
Sure, yeah. So I think I've heard you say that the watches are primarily about art. You can look at the time on your phone.
Yeah, of course.
Would it be the same with espresso? That it doesn't have to make good coffee as long as it's pretty?
I know. It's great watchmaking. Here it would be a great espresso machine with great espresso. I mean, there is no way we'd do something pretty which does a bad coffee. Like when we haven't gone through, Stephen McDonald spent 5 years of his life developing this. We craft and hand finish 585 components to do something which is not well done. So let's take a step back. Why does MB&F exist? Why did it exist originally? I basically wanted to be proud. I wanted to be proud of myself as a human being, as a creator, as an entrepreneur. And so everything we've done has been about being proud. And then over the years, of course, for me, it stayed the same thing, but then you realize we're today going to be 49 in the company, and that you don't have 48 people coming in the morning to work so that Max is proud. It can't be the why of the company. And so we worked 2 years ago on why does this company exist? It was a really interesting process. So we took a specialist moderator, and we were 4 of us in the room, and I took a seat back, and everybody started writing why we exist and putting it on a wall on their post-its. And virtually nobody mentioned watchmaking. Now, watchmaking is our life. It's what's built me, it's what's made my heart tick. I owe everything to watchmaking. But the why of MB&F was not about watchmaking. And you very quickly, it took us 20 minutes to come down to, we want to inspire people to think differently. If you see what we've managed to do with virtually no funds in the last 18 years, look what the risks we've taken, look at the values we've defended, look what we've managed to do. And there were some really tough years, but we're here. Maybe you, in your world, whatever it is, you could do the same thing. So inspire people to think differently, to take more risks, to be more creative. That's the why of the company today. And the second, which is actually a corollary of the brand, is called MB&F and Friends. Yeah. It's funny because today people actually ask me, like, what does the F mean? Who's F? And it's like, and friends, oh, okay. We create communities. Wittingly, like all the artisans who manage to transform ideas into reality, or unwittingly through typically our customers. We've realized that our customers, whoever they are from Taipei to Los Angeles, are very similar human beings with the same sort of ethos and way of thinking. And now one of the next steps is we're making our customers meet each other because we think these people will really enjoy meeting each other. So creating that community is incredibly, makes us very proud. So anything we do today, does it inspire people to think differently? Does it reinforce the community? If it doesn't, we don't do it, which is still pretty wide.
How are you getting people together, this community?
So it happens already when we travel. We'll organize like maybe a dinner, a lunch, and you're all MB&F owners, but you don't know each other. And then it's a step further. We also do it like typically a week ago. We, to say thank you to all the artisans who'd worked with us over the last 18 years, we actually took a track day. Nobody had ever raced on or been on a track. And so we rented cars, and we took some professors, some teachers, and all of us were there and learning how to drive a car on a track and spend the whole day together mingling. And the messages I got of thank you were incredible. Because what most people said, the experience was incredible, but mostly I met some incredible people. And that was amazing. And we realized that's where those circles, we have to work more on that. And that's something which would make us proud.
Yeah, I have a similar experience. Making videos, organizing a watch group where I live in Portland, Oregon. And so my group, collectors of all sorts of watches, I'm curious, would you call yourself a watch collector?
Definitely.
What was the last watch you bought for yourself?
I bought 2 watches in the last 2 months. I've bought a lot of watches this year. My last, and I'll show it to you. It's a Seiko Frequency of the early 90s, which was only sold in Japan, which was a fully transparent digital LED watch, not LED, LCD watch, with a beat master system, which was done for DJs. And you press a button and it goes, doof, 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 and you can actually increase the beat or go lower it. I thought that was so incredible. And just before that, I got myself a piece from my friend Vincent Calabrese, the founder of the HCI, who in 2001 had come out with 6 other master watchmakers with a German leather goods maker called Goldfile. Goldfile had actually mandated 7 watchmakers of the Academy to do a watch for them. Everybody's forgotten about it. I had the Vianney Halter one, which is incredible, and I managed to hunt down one of the Vincent Calabrese. He only made 100 of them, and it's super cool. And not only is it cool, it was super interesting watchmaking-wise, it's super interesting design-wise, and it's Vincent Calabrese, who I know and who's a friend, and I had never owned a piece from him, and I could send him a WhatsApp and said, I have finally got one of your watches. And he sent me a beautiful message back like, wow, I'm so happy. Because that's what it's all about also. We independent watchmakers, I mean, I still think of ourselves as the young guard, but we've been around for 18 years. And I'm like, I think Felix Baumgartner is a bit the baby of that generation. I think he's in the 47, 48, I'm 56. We've been around for 20, 25 years with our own brands. And we all know each other, and we have a lot of our very good friends. So you want to own a piece from that friend because you know what he has gone through. And all of us have gone through such terrible times to do what we do. It's never been about the money. There never was any money in this being an independent watchmaker. It's just in the last 2-3 years that suddenly we've become hot. Oh wow, we want an independent. We're all of us in shell shock, like, really? Where were all of you guys in the last 20 years? So I remember years where I traveled 200 days out of 365 helping my retailers present my pieces because nobody wanted to buy them. So all of us have gone through that. And when you own one of their pieces, especially their early pieces, we were all at that really tough times and sweat and blood in that piece. So there you go. So it can go from here to there. Also this year I got myself a watch which I used to dream of when I was a youngster, when I started at Jaeger. The watch you had to have if you had incredible means in those days was a Breguet tourbillon. So I managed to find a 1994 Breguet tourbillon in yellow gold, 35 millimeters. So beautiful. It's the Daniel Roth developed movement, hand finished. Everything was hand finished in those days. And I remember I was a youngster with my little salary, like I will never ever be able to afford that piece. And 30 years later, I managed to get one. So it doesn't have to be crazy, but it has to be something which has made my heart beat faster.
So speaking of youngsters that have small salaries, here's a little game. And I don't know if you can do this on the spot. I don't think I could, which is a 3-watch collection with $5,000. Or we'll say 5,000 Swiss francs.
I think there would be a lot of choice, but it has to be a vintage. I don't think you'll have much choice in new. At least there's not much I would go after with if I'm going to take 3 in 5,000 francs, because prices have gone crazy. So for sure I'd take a Seiko 5, a sports of the 70s. They're so cool. An Omega Dynamic. They're incredible. With an integrated steel bracelet or with a blue and white silver dial. You can get them for $500. Incredible watches. What I'm sort of thinking, what else would I have?
So I think you've only spent maybe 2,000?
Yeah, I've spent less than 2,000 there for sure. It's difficult on the spot. What would I get? One of the actually, it's funny. 2 Omegas. I would go for a 70s Speedmaster. A 321 caliber is you can't get that price anymore. I mean, they're 10 grand now. But when I bought my 321 of 1967, I think I paid $3,000. But now that's impossible. So you're going to go for a 70s, a Flightmaster, maybe an Omega Flightmaster. That's really cool. But again, I love quirky, different pieces. I'm not a super classic guy. That would probably be for the moment, my 3-watch collection. But of course, anything I make would go into the next watch because that's what you're a watch collector.
So you mentioned, you're surprised by the kind of interest in independent watchmaking. So you've seen a lot of the industry from Jojo Lecoultre, Harry Winston here. I'm kind of curious, I'm going to ask you both sides of this, which is, what's something that you'd love to see 10 times more of in the watch collecting community or the industry? And what's one thing you'd love to see just a tenth of, or maybe none of, that you see today?
I would like to see much more knowledge and much less status. I would like to have 10 times more knowledge from people who actually buy watches. Real collectors usually know what they're buying and they do their research. But today, I think 9 out of 10 expensive watch buyers are clueless to what they buy, and they buy what's trendy or makes you look wealthy. And I would love them to pay a little bit more attention to sometimes they buy incredible products, but they don't even realize it. And others, they buy products which are just too expensive what they are. So more knowledge, less status would be cool.
Oh, you mentioned both with one answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned kind of what keeps you up at night, which is the future. What would it be without you? How can you plan for that? What's the thing that excites you the most?
It's always the next creation. It's always the next creation. It's been like that. If I don't feel any more adrenaline, I have to stop. But for the moment, it's there. And what's interesting is I started MB&F with a whole paradigm which was so new for me, which create for yourself. 7 years at Jaeger-LeCoultre that I love, several years at Harry Winston I loved. I was always creating products for the market. Creating products I thought would sell. Many of them I didn't even like. So creating at MB&F has been about me. Hence why the pieces are so different, because I don't think of what people will like. And then as you start creating more and more, it's an addiction. And as in all addictions, if you stay at the same level of risk, it's as if you don't feel anything. So you all the time have to take a little bit more risk or a different risk. I started MB&F, it was only horological machines then. That's 2005. Then 2011, I come out with a legacy machine where I was like, why is he doing a round watch now? Then we created an art gallery, a mechanical art gallery. I didn't know anything about that. We created the Flying T, a ladies' watch in 2019, when we know perfectly well that there is no market for it and no woman is interested in MB&F, but still I needed to do it. And then 2021, we do the MA.D edition, where everybody knows that when you're a high-end brand, at that price point in artisan hand-finished movements, you should never go and do a volume piece at that low price point. I mean, it's complete suicide, but still I do it. Now, don't get me wrong, I designed that piece in 2014, and it took me 7 years to have the courage to come out with it. But there are all sorts of other projects like this where, as I was saying before, my job is to come out with ideas which are very dangerous for the company. And if they're dangerous and they're creatively interesting and they explore something that we've never done, I feel alive. And that's why you can't have two like me in the same company, because it's too dangerous. And so I've got all these projects, and there's some which will, I hope all of them will see the light, but I'm also not completely nuts. I know that a lot of things I've created probably shouldn't see the light or will not see the light. So it's always the next idea, the next idea, and the next idea. That's what keeps me up. And but then, and I'm sorry I give you really long answers. The challenge when you're a creator in watchmaking is that the gestation is so long. Now, I have an idea. If you look on my wall, we've got the sketches of the Bulldog. The very first sketch of the Bulldog I designed was in September 2012. And the Bulldog is going to come out in March 21. That's virtually 9.5 years. Now, not because we had technical issues, it's just I was procrastinating or I had other things to do, or there were other projects which took precedence. And but I've got tons of other projects like that which are in the drawers, and maybe they'll come out in 8 or 9 years. Now, in the case of the Bulldog, when it came out, I was super proud of it. But when I create something now, and my team tells me, Max, great, 2031. I'm thinking, the man I will be in 2031, will I actually enjoy seeing that product then? Or will I have gone on to something completely different? And I was like, oh, no, that's so lame. That's so 2023. So So as a creator, I keep on enjoying myself taking risks, and I've got this really long gestation, you say, period, which is a little bit frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Do you have people who in the company who object to your ideas and say this is bad? And how do you handle that?
Luckily they are. If everybody agrees with it, it's probably a lame idea. It was interesting, when HM6 came out, the Space Pirate, that's 2014, it's the beginning of Instagram starting to really get some traction. And we post, I mean, the media talk about it because it's so different, so a lot of media talk about it. And I had line after line of fugly, 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 fugly. And I go to my team and I says, guys, what does fugly mean? And everybody's like, okay. And I got really depressed. I was like, why are people, it was the beginning of social media and you have to live with people being mean now. I was not used to that. And it was Serge, my partner in the company, our technical director, who said, Max, if we don't get a minimum of fuglies, we're doing something really wrong. If everybody loves it, it's vanilla ice cream. And we're not here to create vanilla ice cream. So we need people who disagree, who are scared, who are like, are you sure about this? Now, that's very interesting as a question, because I think it was a book I read, which is a fantastic book by a Korean professor of Harvard called Young-Mi Moon. It's a little book called Different. It's like 100 pages on innovation and things like that. And she says this phrase which really hit me. I read the book like 10 years ago. She said, the welcome you get, the reaction you get when you have a groundbreaking idea which is going to change the world or change your company is exactly the same as you come out with a really stupid idea which is going to bankrupt your company. People will push back. In both sides, people will push back because it's dangerous, it's out of the norm, and usually people don't like that. And so my job is to, when I see the pushback going, am I bankrupting my company with a really stupid idea? Or am I having such a fantastic idea which is going to build a legacy of my brand? At the end of the day, okay, I've got 80% of the company, Serge has got 20. We can only do that because we're the two shareholders. And we take the risk and we're like, you know what, all in. Let's do it. And we have to assume the consequences. And we function like that from day one. From day one. And that's the only way you can be super creative, is making sure that a certain amount of people will not get it or push back. Otherwise, you're not being creative.
Is there a way to know ahead of time which one of those two it's going to be? I don't know, prototyping? I don't know.
No, we don't. We never do any. We're very. For us, it's very important that we do not. Now, don't get me wrong. We do not want to listen to any potential customer reaction when we create something. MB&F is 100% creative centric. It's not client-centric. When you get one of our pieces, we're 100% client-centric. I think we give an incredible service to people who actually own one of our pieces. And people tell us that. But when we create, we never ever think if there's a client for that, because otherwise we'll never do it. 80% of what we've come out with, we would never have done thinking, oh yes, there are people who actually want a spaceship or a bulldog. And I always remember, I'll give you an example. We came out with the Flying T, our first ladies' watch, which I did actually basically as an act of saying I love you to my wife and daughters. And we presented it in SIHH 2019. Our biggest retailer at the moment, who's doing probably 35% of our business, ordered 5 of them. And in those days, they were selling like 50 MB&F. So they only ordered 5. It was our big novelty of the year. It was fine. I'd planned 30 movements that year. So it was okay, no problem. We do the launch in the country. I go there. We do a we do an evening with 30, 40 customers. And during that evening, they sell 11 pieces. So the next morning, I'm debriefing with the team and saying, so you ordered 5, we